my next very important question, of late we have seen some of the two-wheelers or electric vehicles catching fire. It happened in many cities, many with many brands in India. I just want to understand, how are we going to ascertain this safety aspect of the battery and overall architecture of electric vehicles. We see that there are different varied kind of weather conditions that we have in India. How are we going to bring that as standardization, or that is, low cost innovation in terms of, the architecture of the vehicle or the battery, that is still, good enough to sustain or survive all weather conditions, and the other, you see the some of the, roads, some of the geographies where we don't have proper roads, somewhere you have hills, somewhere you have different conditions. How are we going to ascertain that we maintain that safety levels?
The fundamental part about safety and reliability is we need to understand the Indian use case. I mean, we have weather conditions, we have grid conditions, and we have usage conditions. These are generally very unique across the country, and they may not fully be captured during the product development cycle. And that is something that needs to be addressed at its core. Once this understanding has been plugged in, the engineering is straightforward. Yes, it does come in with a few overheads, but then that is what this country requires at this point in time. We expect, to our knowledge, most of the fires have happened because of bad handling or improper usage, and education on that front and secondary protection from the product itself is going to go a long way in making sure these things never happen again.
Suhas, this challenge is going to have a larger impact on the newbies, younger players in the space. How are you trying to convince your customers that they take a better measure in this, or how are you trying to convince your customer in this front on the safety aspect?
Yeah, so see, again, battery safety is one of the major concerns every customer will have, obviously, because they are not much aware of how the development happens or what exactly the quality standards have been matched. Again, just to take a step back and just reflect on this, battery technology or battery safety is a concern where you need to really work on the fundamentals, right? Your thermal efficiency has to be optimum. Your terrain management, your condition management, your BMSs have to really work together, really understand where the thermal runaway happens, right? Apart from that, what safety parameters or what layers are you placing into the battery packs is one of the second phases that you can really look at. So having said this, convincing a customer is something that we have to really showcase our capability of traveling maybe 5 lakh kilometers, 10 lakh kilometers without having any problem, and assuring them of a warranty period that we are very sure of as a maker. Because if we don't show the confidence, I don't think consumer can really wrap their heads around this part of it. But again, everything in a EV starts with battery packs, and the core focus also has to be always on the battery packs, be it the phase change materials, be it the BMS, or be it any kind of thermal system that you want to place in, and all security checks to place in, has to be the bottom line focus of a company, especially someone who's developing things from scratch. So this is where you can look at, and obviously as you use the vehicle, you'll have the surety of whether this will really go far or no, and what kind of R&D that has gone to the handling the chemistry itself. The lithium is a bit, again, a problematic thing to handle. You'll have to be very careful on that. It cannot be solved with a plug and play models or just a standardized battery pack. It has to have its own thesis, and it has to have its own development life cycle, and it has to be built on basic principles so that safety is met and quality is met.
Mr. Diego, what's your thought on it? How do you see this can be addressed? How big is this challenge?
I think, Nabil, I think this is definitely very valid point, in the sense that somehow one of the biggest challenge of adoption of electric, both in two-wheel and two-wheeler space in India, is the, discipline and culture of customer that have definitely to take some, some precaution whenever using an EV vehicle. Okay, I cannot comment on any of the cases that you mentioned, because I cannot say if it is due to misuse of a consumer or it is due to the bad quality of a battery pack. What I can say is that as far as our experience is as Piaggio, not only in India, but globally, because we are producing and selling electric two-wheeler and three-wheeler since more than 15 years as of now globally. We never had this kind of experience so far, but then we follow very strict standard in terms of safety, because somehow you have also to prevent that customers are not using all the precautions that are required. So you cannot expect that whenever adopting a two-wheeler electric, you have to ask a customer to change his usage habits respect to what he was used to do when he was using an IC vehicle. It should be unfair. So I think that is the responsibility of OEM to ensure that the highest level of protection against any kind of lack coming from final consumers, and means that you have to adopt the highest level of standard available nowadays in the market. At least this is the philosophy that we are following.
Yeah.
We always follow.
So Diago, I understand that this should be done, but just want to understand what is really being done to do that. But I'll come to this question once again. But before that, I'll take Tarun's opinion on this. And also additionally, Tarun, I want to understand, we have seen there's a policy in place now that, you know, you can sell electric two-wheeler or any vehicle without battery. That enables that the swapping model can work here, or also can decrease the cost of acquisition for the end user of electric two-wheelers or three-wheelers. That will be a big, I think, driver for volume. Just want to understand how effectively, what are the innovation or technology, how effectively can we commonize these battery that they can be used for all kind of segment like two-wheeler or three-wheelers safely with right kind of efficiency.
Namit, I have an extreme view on this. I think it's a terrible idea to try and standardize batteries. You are talking about batteries purpose-built for individual electric two-wheelers right now catching fire in India. Imagine trying to build batteries for different OEMs, different models, different variants, and then being changed every day, connections being happening every day. I think it's a difficult job. Swapping has a role to play. Sure, in commercial purposes in particular, it has a significant role to play. But I think swapping of batteries has to be subjected to far stringent checks because of the kind of environment India is, the kind of usage it will go through. In a fixed battery environment like what most OEMs have today, even their batteries need a lot of care. But in a removable battery environment, I think the number of tests and certification needs to be definitely higher. Otherwise, the government risks creating a bad environment and possibly a lot of exposure for customers with more batteries catching fire, with more bad handling of batteries. Secondly, standardization, would it help? It won't help at all. In fact, standardization works the other way around. If you want a safer battery, standardization does not help. Creating requirements for safety is help, right? So you need safety standards. You don't need battery standards, okay? You want to have, for example, standards around how much power it can manage, what kind of surge it can accept, what kind of electrical shortage scenario it can work in, all that good stuff, right? What kind of temperatures it can operate in, all that. You don't want to basically define this is what the battery shape should be. That does not help creating safer batteries.
Okay, thank you, Tarun. That's been a very candid opinion. So you are saying that safety standards should be brought in, not the battery standardization, and you think that the swapping is not a great, idea.
Let me clarify. Swapping is fine. I don't want to basically start a fight with the entire industry right now. I think swapping is fine. Please go ahead with swapping. I'm just saying, I think
checks and balance.
I think we need clearer and more tighter safety regulations. I think everybody and their uncle is trying to build swappable battery packs with any kind of a vehicle with like a 3-5 member engineering team. Building a swappable battery pack and infrastructure is one that requires, in my opinion, considerable investments and at least 3 to 5 years of consistent R&D behind it. Without that, we are walking into a trap. I think the government should insist for it in whatever way which is feasible.
Okay, so government should put more checks and quality parameters. Mohal, what's your thought?
So
Do
I
you
definitely
agree that this will be a big enabler for volume? And then you can give your opinion.
so I'll start with Tarun's statement, and yes, battery packs are currently not regulated in India, and that is a major point of concern. Uh, Regulatory, operational, tech-driven standards will definitely help, and they will at least bring everyone up to a let's say a minimum viable product, if I may. And from there, standardization for me is going to be the key enabler going into the future for India. And with subsidies going out, cost of acquisition will go up. And at that point, batteries which are interoperable will help reduce the cost of acquisition. But having said that, we also see a lot of benefit on the infrastructure side and the grid side coming in with swapping stations packed with batteries, and there is a lot to be leveraged out of this. But it stands to be seen how the policy is regulated, how is formulated, and how the industry overall is agreeable with the context moving forward.